You bought an LG OLED and you want to know how to make this TV shine like a pearl in a dark room. You want this TV not just to shine, my friend, but to look like real life. No. You want this TV to look absolutely insane. Like nothing comes even close to this TVs. The LG OLEDs are the best TVs on the market. And I'm not going to explain why in this video. I'm just going to give you the settings and the methodology behind some certain settings in some certain games and why I choose to use these settings. And then we're going to talk about other stuff as well. But let's begin with the most simple stuff, the setup. The first thing you're going to do is go home on the TV. You go up to HDMI 1, you plug out the PS5 cable, and then you plug it back into HDMI 1. Now, why am I telling you to do this? Well, if you have been playing in PC mode on your PS5 for some reason, then this will reset that option. So this is making sure that we all have the same settings from the get-go. No, it's not going to reset your settings if you were already using it in game console mode. Good to say. Okay, and I've also dialed down the brightness all the way down to 0 on the TV, only for recording purposes. Don't do this personally, okay? So don't follow the settings with the OLED brightness. Leave that to 100. Okay, good. So the first thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna make sure that the TV signal to the console is as intended. Everything is completely good and fine, okay? You're gonna grab your magic remote, hold the menu button, and you're gonna come to this place. If you pressed only once or didn't hold it for enough long time, then you will come to the game bar. So you want to hold the button, never release it until you see that loading. Now you're here. What we want to do is go to the General tab, OLED Care, OLED Panel Care, turn on Screen Move, adjust logo brightness to high, and care recommendations. This is just going to make sure that your TV is going to survive longer, not get as much image retention, and the risk of burn-in is vastly dialed down. So you shouldn't have to worry too much about burn-in anymore with those settings. And if you hear me stuttering or saying anything wrong or misspeaking in any way, it's because I'm extremely ill right now. Or sick. I don't know what it's called in English, honestly. Sick, I think. My temperature is high. I have a lot of coughing. Yeah, that sounded really bad grammatically speaking. I shouldn't be making a video, honestly, when I am sick, because I'm gonna be slow and I don't go from a script normally. But just bear with me. So, we're gonna go into the settings, external devices, HDMI settings. Make sure that 444 pass-through is disabled. Why do we disable this option? Well, we disable this option because it does nothing for PS5 gamers either way. It's gonna make the TV slower, the CPU is gonna run higher inside of the TV, and it's gonna make the menu selection toggling slower. Going through the menus are gonna feel more sluggish and slower because you're pushing the TV CPU without it actually even doing anything. Turn this off if you're on PS5. If you're on Xbox, this can be turned on. HDMI deep color, make sure that this is at the 4K. Simplink, HDMI CEC, turn this on. Dolby Vision PC, turn this off. Okay, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. We're going into this mode right here, and we're gonna click 111, 3, 111. Make sure that everything here is on auto, and that the one at the very last point here is on version 2. Okay, good. Aspect ratio, original and auto. If this for some reason, the just scan mode here, if the just scan is on off, then your TV is zooming in on the image and you're losing a lot of picture quality. Like, let me tell you, a lot of sharpness is being lost. So make sure that this is on or auto to make sure that it's not zooming in. Okay, let's go into the advanced settings. OLED pixel brightness, 100%. Dynamic tone mapping. this is a hard one. You can go off and max this out to 80, 70 or 90. And no, you don't want to just do it on one, you do it on all of them. To get the most brightness out of this TV possible in a filmmaking mode kind of scenario inside of Game Optimizer, you would want to go 100, 100, 100 on all of this, max them out. However, there are many issues to doing this. You're gonna get highlight clipping and the midtones aren't gonna look completely correct all the time. But however, this should be mastering for only around the highlight rolling point. So it should be totally fine. It should only be for highlights. But I've seen in Cyberpunk when doing maxed out HDR settings at 3000 nits, which does not correlate to any of these of course, but then you do change the brightness on the entire sky in the game. So it's good to keep in mind. If you're playing Cyberpunk, then you would probably want to go around 30 here and 100, 30 and 100 like this. However, to make it just simple, either pick HDRG or on. On is going to be very easy, simple, it's going to work for all games, but you're going to get more ABL, so more brightness dimming, and you're not going to have an accurate image. However, accuracy is not really that important. If you bought an OLED though, for accuracy purposes, then good, this video is going to talk about that. But just know, if you don't want to dial in settings at all and you just want to let settings be and set it be, and you get the idea. You don't want to change anything, then on. But for the guys that wants to be a little extra special here, pick HDRG. Okay, I'm going to pick on though, for now. Doesn't matter, I change this all the time. So don't care about why I'm leaving it on. It's not like it's better or worse in any way. It's just, I'm leaving it on. Expression enhancer off. And video range on auto. Auto is the best if you like to play in 120Hz mode in some games and 60Hz in some other games. I'm not going to talk about why, because I've already done that in another video. I don't want to waste your time. Auto and off on the iMotion Care. Color. We cannot change this because we're going to change it in the game bar later. So that's why it's turned off right here. Tint, 0. Auto detect on color gamut. Fine tune, make sure that it's off. White balance, we're going to do warm 50. 2-point scale, high point, 50, 50, 50. So plus 50, plus 50, plus 50. Now, this is going to act as a white stabilizer boost, kinda, without even touching the white stabilizer. This will allow you to go even higher with the input luminance of white, but you're going to be rolling off the highlights slightly before. So, if you do this, the white luminance is going to come closer to the vivid mode luminance of white mode. Not as close, but closer, right? It's going to be the brightest mode before vivid mode. So that's good. But doesn't really matter that much, because the thing is, forget about it. Either leave this on 0, 0, 0, so default, or if you want more brightness out of your TV and you're not happy with the brightness, 50, 50, 50. Now, we're doing 2-point scale, so, we're doing 2-point scale. We're gonna do high point and change this to low. Nice. Now, we're on low point instead of high point. Many of you are not following, but that's why I'm saying it twice. Low point scale instead of high point, and then we do +5 on red, -6 on blue. Green, we leave that to be default. I recommend warm 50 to just ensure that the color accuracy is always mapped correctly on the TV. If you don't care about color accuracy whatsoever and how the image makes you feel when you're looking at it, go with whatever you want here, but never go above 0. So let's say you think it's way too green and way too warm. Well, you can go up and make it be the 0 value. If you go above here and you make it cold, the image becomes overtly blue. You can make it warm 10 or warm 20 if you really don't like that green to warm tint. But I still recommend you to go warm 50. That's my recommendation. That's also the accuracy intent recommendation. This is just to make skin tones more realistic, let's say. Okay, so that's the calibration aspect of the TV. Now when we go into clarity, we want to make sure that super resolution is on high. This is not necessarily the best mode. Off would be more pure, but Low and medium doesn't really do anything in most cases. High, however, will add some very micro minute AI upscaling to the image in lower resolutions below 4K. Now, because every single game outputs at 4K on PS5 but isn't rendering at 4K, the TV doesn't know that it's outside of 4K. So it's only gonna work sometimes. It's a little hit or miss. And the higher you go with the sharpness, 30 being the baseline and up, you're gonna get more super resolution aggressiveness, so it's gonna kick in more often. However, leaving it on high is my recommendation to make most blurry games slightly sharper with their native 4K scaling. Okay, nice. And my neck is hurting as well, that's why I'm doing the weird neck motions. Okay, nice. So, we're all done here. We don't have to be in this menu anymore. We can forget about these setting menus completely. So, the game bar. Now it's getting fun, guys. So, we're gonna make sure that we are on STD 0 here. This is essentially just standard. That's what it means. And then we're gonna go to here, press Game Optimizer. And I'm gonna make sure that you guys optimize this correctly. So, inside of the game setting here, we're gonna go down, make sure that Prevent Input Delay is on boost. You're gonna notice that the TV becomes more slow and sluggish in this mode. However, you get faster input lag on the TV. Like when gaming with your PS5 controller, it's gonna be a lot faster. Not a lot faster, but it's faster, right? Depending on how sensitive you are to input lag, this is a break it or a make it mode or whatever. Like this is gonna make it a lot better. However, because the TV becomes a lot more sluggish and slower in the menus when you're gaming and you're going into the settings to calibrate for a game in a preset or whatever, I do recommend, if that's something that you're annoyed by and you like to dial in settings, leave this as standard. It's gonna be 60 FPS in menus. If you don't care and you wanna boost and get the lowest input lag possible with all the features to get the most out of your TV, then do boost. But it's, as I said, it's gonna be around like 40 or 50 FPS in the menus. It's gonna be a lot more sluggish. Okay. So, Game Dashboard enabled will ensure that every time you press the menu button, this comes up on screen. That's how I like to have it. But if you don't like that for some reason, then turn it off. However, I don't recommend anyone to turn this off. Leave it on. Now, VRR G-Sync, turn that on. 144Hz mode, turn that on. ALLM, turn that on. 144Hz mode has been measured, and even in 60Hz mode, it makes the latency a lot faster. Doesn't matter if you're using VRR or not, it's always faster with this mode on. Even at 40 FPS, locked at 120Hz, it's gonna be faster and feel better, so turn this on. No, I haven't seen any drops in brightness or issues with scaling in any scenario. I've tried almost 1,000 hours on this TV with this mode on, off many times. No issues found whatsoever. At least on my 77-inch LG C4. AMD FreeSync Premium is not supported on PS5 natively, so if you use VRR and G-Sync, VRR is the software-based variable refresh mode of this TV. G-Sync is the chip. To access the chip, you have to have a graphics card from NVIDIA. If you're just using if you're using this and you're on PS5, it's going to backlog to the normal VRR software mode. If you want to use this, because it's more premium, it's not gonna work. It won't get any VRR. So use this if you're on PS5, and if you're on Xbox, then you can pick and choose. It doesn't really matter. From what I gathered, both work. What happens when you use both at once? Most likely, you make the TV slower for no reason, and you just lose input lag. So it's not gonna be good. Now, fine-tune dark areas is good for when you're playing a game, and let's say the gamma drops down to sRGB because you're playing a game at 422 chroma subsampling instead of 444. Because you're on PS5 and you're playing 120Hz signal, it becomes a little more washed out, right? I would recommend to use this mode. And I'm gonna show you that in a second here when we're done talking about the settings. I'm gonna go into some games and talk about presets and all of that. But yeah, this is a really good mode. Now here, menu color will allow you to change the color. So a vibrant red-orange, I would say it's kind of a deep orange even. Then we have a cyan green type color, which looks really clean. And then we have the violet one, which is honestly magenta warm, and I think it just ooh, it looks so good. In my opinion, it looks so good. I like it. My neck is really fucking me up. Okay, now we're gonna go from game mode and we're gonna go to picture. Instead of here, we have the magic. This is, fuck man, my neck. This is where the magic is happening. Black stabilizer allows you to dial down the brightness on everything on screen that isn't necessarily a bright element. So everything that isn't bright here will be dialed down, but stuff that is bright will remain bright. So this allows you to separate darkness from brightness even more, to get that bright next to black differential individual vibe from the TV, which gives that blooming effect, and it gives that OLED, the inky black, extra feeling that you get from looking at an OLED. I don't know how to explain it. It feels kind of weird, kind of surreal, and I think it's very cool. And this will make this very good. We're gonna talk about this because this is powerful, honestly, in Resident Evil 7 very soon in this video. But just remember, this is a cool feature that you can use when your game looks washed out. White stabilizer. I've already talked a little bit about this, and in other videos a ton. But this is a very magic mode. Let's say you don't have enough brightness in your game and you can't push the brightness even more. Well, dialing this down will make the mid-tone clarity of white and near gray slightly more white. So you will be clipping the whites slightly if you go below 5 here. So 5 is good. You can go down. You don't go up because then you're losing contrast. But if you go lower, you're making it more aggressive. So then you're pushing white. It's like a paper white setting almost, but very, very not aggressive at all. Keeping in mind though, because we did plus 50, 50, 50 in the color calibration, this is already on like 5. So if you start now to go down to 5, you're already clipping. However, let's say you did 50, 50, 50 and you want to go to 0, it still looks amazing. It's not ruining the experience at all. Some will say it's way too white and washed out. And honestly, if it's washed out, if that's your methodology of calling it, then something else is wrong. But if you believe it's too white and it's whitewashed or whatever, I get what you're saying. You either don't use this or push it down to 5. I think 5 is a good setting, but standard on my TV, this preset that we're on right now, is the mode that I use when I want to reference check for the default. So I don't change this on this preset. Never, I don't. Game contrast on 100 always. Don't change this mode. You don't have to, you shouldn't need to, and it will just make you get less contrast ratio from your OLED. Max this out. Black level, always 50. That's the correct mapping of the TV. If you change this down one step or up one step, you will get color banding. Always, because it's not mapped from the chip inside of the panel for anything else. If you want to get another value, change the fine-tune dark areas value, but you will still get color banding because it's messing with the gamma. That's what it's called. I almost lost it there. Now, sharpness. This is, I just gotta fuck up my neck for a second. I don't know if it's because I'm nervous sitting in front of the camera. Probably it is, honestly. I don't sit in front of the camera that often anymore. So when I do sit in front of the camera, I get a lot of strain in the neck. I think I'm sitting and I'm like clenching the muscles in the neck because I'm kind of half panicking in front of the camera. That's what I think is going on, at least. Because I don't feel this when I do other stuff. So, the sharpness setting is absolutely key to get very much from your TV. Like, this is very good. So 0 is the purest, the most native signal you can get. It's also the one that looks the best. However, here's the thing. When this is dialed up, don't care about the middle sections like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah, blah, blah. Care about 10. 10, the exact value of 10 is where you start to add anti-aliasing to very sharp edges with pixels on it. This is gonna look good. However, it's a lot more aggressive when dialed up to 20. So 20 instead of 10 will give you very good edge sharpening. You don't see any sharpening, you only see smoothing. So if you saw pixels in Helldivers 2 without anti-aliasing before, those are now completely gone. It's like using a TAA filter without the blurriness from TAA. It's actually very cool. And if you want to add sharpness on top of this, you will get color banding. So the perfect value is 28. You won't get any color banding on 28, and you will get AI upscaling and sharpness and anti-aliasing at the same time. So now you're diluting the image, right? But it looks great. Let me tell you, man, in some games, this is an important thing to have. Game color depth. This is the color that we talked about before. It wasn't lit in the normal menus, we couldn't actually change it, but it was set to 55 there. But the real value this is set at is 50. So now, guys, 50 is the accurate mode for this TV. Don't change this mode. However, let's say you're playing a game and to you don't care about purity, you don't care about accuracy. You just think it's washed out. Even if you have calibrated black levels, midtones, everything, still you think it's not colorful enough. Well, then go back into the TV settings and change the color gamut to be native instead of auto detect. So native, not auto detect, native. And change this setting anywhere from 50 to 65 to 70, and you should be fine. If you go above this, mileage will vary a lot when it comes to color bleed. But the max setting that I would allow myself to go if I really want to crack out of myself, like completely crazy here, 83. But it's, in most games and most movies, it's way too much colors. But if you're a guy that likes a lot of color pop, I don't blame you. It looks great on this TV. But then use vivid mode instead. I have another video of that when I talk about HLG and all of that, but that's another thing. Not for now. We're gonna talk about that in another video. And I already have. Okay, so sound settings. Now, this is honestly important and not very important at the same time. If you're using TV speakers on your TV, let's say you're not always using your headphones. You're watching movies sometimes, you don't have any speakers, you don't have a sound bar, you're only using the TV. First and foremost, turn off AI game sound. Please. Turn off Dolby Atmos, go into Game Equalizer, Customize, and you want to follow this equalizer. 553 minus 1 minus 3 minus 5, 3, 5, 7, 8. Pause or replay what I just said. Set those in, and you're gonna get the most bass you can get out of the speakers inside of the TV. However, if you don't like how it sounds, go back to how you had it before. But this is how to get the most audiophile experience out of your TV speakers, if there even is such a thing. That's my best measurement of getting the best sound out of these speakers. You can push them more, but your mileage will vary a lot for how long the speakers will survive. Like they will die if you boost the bass for too much. So use those settings. Don't boost anything more, because I've dialed in settings and maxed out volume and tried to like really see where's the peak here. That's the peak. If you changed above on the treble or on the bass one step more and you have above 20 on volume, the speakers crackle like crazy and they break. So you don't want to damage your speakers. Now, let's go back to the game setting here. The game bar mode, whatever you want to call it. Let's say it's nighttime. Well, reduced blue light is really good for gamers. You're not going to use level 1 because that makes the screen go to cold 50. So don't use that. It's bugged, in my opinion. What you want to do is level 2. This actually adds the normal TV reduced blue light button that you always see in the normal settings, but it's transferred into here, so level 2. That's if it's nighttime and you feel like the TV is a little harsh on your eyes. You can also combine this with dark room mode on 1 or 2. However, the TV becomes very dim in these settings, and I don't recommend it necessarily, but if you really feel like it's too bright for you in your dark room at night, I recommend turning on these two modes to mitigate eye strain. Like eye strain. It's hard to say that in English, man. Don't blame me. Okay. Now we have calibrated and adjusted I gotta check that the camera is recording. It is recording. Hell yeah, man. Okay. Going to settings on the PS5. I like to go into accessibility, change the text size to small, because it just looks better in 16:9, honestly. It doesn't look as cramped on my large TV. And look how large it looks. Like, this is just insane. Standard looks still way too large. It looks like a giant Nintendo Switch. It looks really childish and weird. So small makes it look a little bit more premium. I don't use bold text. I think it looks too childish, as I said before. High contrast can be used if you want to. However, you will see how the game art becomes very dim. And if you're using HDRG, which most of you will be, it's already too dim. So don't dim it even more. That's what I will say about that. Show check mark on enabled settings. I think it's fine. I have it on, but I don't think you have to have it on. Reduce motion is very key. So when you go from game to game, you can see how it does the flash thing, and it kind of swipes a little bit. So when you put reduce motion, this becomes almost twice as fast. Like, it switches games way snappier. Way snappier, man. So that's how to make the PS5 feel more fast with your TV or whatever. This works for everything. It's not for an LG TV specifically. Go down to controllers, and here you have haptic feedback during console navigation. I think this is a great feature. However, I know a lot of people that don't like vibrations on controllers at all. I don't understand you crazy people at all. I love it. But, well, you can turn this on or off depending on who you are. You might like it on. It just gives you vibration feedback for when touching in the menus. It feels good. Vibration, trigger effect, I max these out, strong, press and hold delay on standard. Yes, okay. So now we go to system, HDMI, and we make sure that HDMI device link is on, and on. So all of these are on. That makes sure that when I turn off my TV now, I press the turn off button here. The PS5 turns off as well. And when I turn on the TV, the PS5 turns on as well. So they're connected with the power. And the PS5 also goes into rest mode and downloads updates and stuff in the background. So that's just amazing. I have the beep and light mode, volume to high. You can mute this if you always turn it on in the middle of the night and you game in your parents' living room and you don't want to wake anybody up. Fine. But I like the beep. I have the brightness to dim though on the power indicator. Just because I feel like it's too bright for when I'm sitting right in front of it. In a very dark black OLED prepared room, it's just way too bright. So I have it on dim. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Power saving. If you're going to power saving here, we have the set time until controller turns off. This is something that you want to have on after 10 minutes so that it preserves battery life. If you go away for 20 minutes, it has already turned off the controller and the console and it's saving power. And it's just good for your power bill, honestly, in general. Now, in the features available in rest mode, this is something that you should definitely check out. I'm just gonna, yeah, okay, so you gotta go into here first. Set time until PS5 enters rest mode. So, during media playback, which means movies, Netflix, YouTube, all of that, after 4 hours, I feel like that's a good middle ground. Because if you're watching a movie, it's your fault if you left the TV on. You should be leaving it on, you're watching a movie, right? But when playing a game, I feel like it's this, right? If the PS5 goes into rest mode, you don't lose any save file, you don't lose any checkpoint, you don't lose anything. It still is turned on inside of the game. So this, I only allow it to be on for 20 minutes. If I go and take a shit and I come back, it has gone into rest mode. I just press the PlayStation button. It takes the TV 2 or 3 seconds and the PS5 is back on again. I'm still in the game and I'm prepared to game. And who knows, I might not even be gone for 10 minutes. I might be gone for an hour sometimes when I'm taking a shit. You know, anus goes crazy after tacos. You get the idea. After 20 minutes either way, to fix for burning and stuff like that, right? Features available in rest mode. So this is something that I think is amazing to have on. I have it on always, but you only need to have it on for 3 hours, honestly. So 3 hours is what I'm gonna pick here. Stay connected to the internet, yes. Enable turning on PS5 from network. No, don't have that enabled, and don't have Spotify enabled as well. Because if you accidentally go into the Spotify app, like we do when you listen to music, and last time you were using PS5 with Spotify, it might actually turn on the PS5. So don't have that on, in my experience. So now on the web browser settings, I have turned off cookies and JavaScript and prevent cross-site tracking, and I deleted the cookies and cleared the website data. Is there anything more that I will recommend you to do? Well, if you have an AV receiver plugged in, go to audio output, HDMI device, switch output device automatically. I have that turned off because it always switches to the headphone DAC, and I want to be using the media console or whatever, the AV receiver. So you pick HDMI device, AV amplifier, that's the same thing as an AV receiver. Number of channels, in this case I have 2 channels because I'm using my headphones plugged into this, and I'm not gaming at 5.1 anymore, I'm only watching movies at 5.1. So for the PS5 I want it always to be 2 channels. I've also gone in and made sure that the 2 channels are dialed in this way, so that we're getting a headphone kind of orientation, because I only use the AV receiver for the PS5 for headphones, essentially. So now, down here, I always have linear PCM. Home screen music and sound effects, that's like totally up to you, whatever you want to have. 3D audio, I have this on when I plug it into the DAC normally. Now that I'm using it with the AV amplifier, AV receiver, I make sure that I don't use this because it's not supported. Controller, speaker, I turn this off, I really don't like it. Screen and video, I make sure to go into adjust display area. I max this out. Dim screen whilst inactive after 5 minutes. This is really good to prevent burn-in. It will detect in-game if you're standing still for too long. And it will know that you're not touching the controller, and it will dim the screen. This is really good to preserve health, the like overall health of the OLED pixels. So 5 minutes, right? Now, go into a video output, automatic, enhance image quality for PS4 games, on VRR automatic, on automatic, always on, automatic. Now, we're gonna do a calibration. And what you're gonna do is, it's very simple actually. You're gonna go into the game bar, go into picture setting, go all the way down, dynamic tone mapping, switch to HGIG. Oh, sorry, go back to the setting where we were. HDR, adjust HDR. Now, we're gonna change this until the sun disappears. It's super easy. Don't ask me how many clicks, that's just stupid. How many clicks, that doesn't matter, man. It's the same for everyone. I can tell you like this. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So, okay, so 15 clicks. It's 15 clicks on this as well. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, 15 clicks. And then on this page, just make it as dark as possible. Just press down until it's not lit anymore. So you can't press down anymore. That's how you know the black level is correct. Now, automatic on deep color output and RGB range on automatic. And now, one more setting, sorry. Save data and game app. You're gonna go game presets, performance mode. Boom. Now guys. Now you're done. Now you can enjoy your TV and have fun gaming, knowing that you have the best panel on the market. You have the best calibration. Everything is just working perfectly fine. And you're gonna be extremely happy with your purchase. However, let's say you're going to a game and holy shit, it's washed out, like insane levels of washed out, man. Like it really doesn't look good at all. Well, what can we do to this? How can we fix it, right? That's what I want to talk about. And after this, I'm going to end the video. Just keep in mind, the settings that I do in this game now is for this game specifically. So, we do HDR mode on, max brightness 1000, brightness 180, so 180. Graphics, ray tracing is disabled, high frame rate mode enabled, We're playing on a PS5 Pro. That doesn't matter though, because this game doesn't have support for the Pro. So it's gonna backlog to the normal PS5 version, that's what I mean. Now, we're gonna make sure, no matter what, that we're always playing this game in HDRG. It's a little hard to sit this close to the TV in game, but I'm gonna try. Okay, dynamic tone mapping, HDRG. Good. Now we're getting hard clipping at the exact point of the EOTF where we want hard clipping. However, we have an issue. Now, the issue is the image is washed out. I'm gonna see if you guys can see this. No, you can't see shit. So I'm gonna try to up the brightness of the TV and see if you guys can see it then. Because right now it's way too dim for anyone to notice on camera that it's washed out. Let me tell you, it's incredibly washed out, but it's not visible on camera. There we go. Now it looks like shit. It doesn't look as bad as it looks on camera. Well, actually, it kind of looks better on camera, now that I think about it. Yeah, it looks kind of better on camera. Not with the highlights, but with the black level, that looks a lot less washed out. So, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a preset only for this game. And that might sound really counterintuitive and very advanced and hard and just annoying. Why do you have different modes for different games? And normally I don't actually care this much, but I gotta give you this tip. In this case, I've already fixed a calibration. RTS is what I use for all my Resident Evil games. However, Resident Evil in-game HDR settings are different for every single game, so you can't use the settings completely for this video corresponding to all the other games. But yeah, so picture, I do black, fuck. Yeah, now it's washed out again, wait. There we go, okay. Black stabilizer 5, white stabilizer 0, sharpness 28 because it's really blurry of this game. Game color depth 50. Dynamic tone mapping HRG. And I do -17 on fine-tune dark areas. This is gonna make the game, sorry, I gotta fix the brightness again. This is gonna make the game look very scary, very realistic, and the lighting presentation with this calibration that I made, man, it looks super real, like eerily real. You're gonna get crazy 3D effect from this game now. And I assure you, when you try to dial in the settings to look like this for all your games, you're gonna be surprised with how good and vivid this TV looks. Like you can probably see how there is just OLED black here, and then you're getting bloom across this corner, and it just looks, oh man, it looks so wonderful and so good. And we can't really capture it on camera, sadly. But yeah, it looks so cool, man. Super cool. Obviously, it's hard to record HDR footage with a phone that doesn't register HDR. That corridor right there looks more like, let's see, like that to me with my human eyes. But the camera is capturing it like this. So yeah, it's not really looking the same, but you get the idea. It's looking super realistic right now. And I gotta tell you, comparing this to a QD OLED, the QD OLED with its colors would have been way too aggressive here, and it would not have looked as pure and realistic. Same with here. The fog right here doesn't look that bright with the midtones. It's more there, I would say, but you can see the dark detail a lot easier, so you can't compensate for both with the camera, keep that in mind. But yeah, so that's the settings for this game, right? And let's say we think this looks good, we think it looks awesome, but just for the people that are like, oh, you shouldn't be touching the settings like that, you're manipulating the image in a weird way, you're messing with stuff you shouldn't be. Well, okay, so nighttime looks like this, right? It's not weird, everybody understands. But if we change it back to standard, it looks like this. And oh shit, I kicked the camera almost. This is not good looking. Like, honestly, this is not black, this is not dark. This is not nighttime. Nobody can tell me that this is dark midnight in a swamp out in Massachusetts or whatever this is supposed to be. And when we switch this back to the calibrated mode. Oh yeah, I can actually see in the dark here. Very barely though, very faintly. But the camera can't capture it at all. Let's see if I go close, if it can. Yeah, no, it's not gonna be able to capture that. It's just a phone camera is not good enough, that's the thing. But yeah, my eyes can barely see it still as well. So, I mean, it's not that crazy. But yeah, this looks super realistic, super cool. And I think you guys will agree when you try this out for yourself that this is a game changer completely. Like, this really looks eerily like real life. And you will never ever want to play with just default settings in any game ever again. Because this does definitely not look like this. This looks like real life, man. Now, important to note for the calibration addiction enthusiasts out there, when you do dial down black stabilizer, you're making the display more blue with the midtones. That might sound horrible, and well, from a calibration standpoint, it is. So how to counteract this? Let's say you always want to have black stabilizer 5. You never want to change it because you think that looks good in all games. Well, I don't think it looks good in all games, but let's say that's you, right? Well, then you can change this slider on tint until it doesn't look as blue anymore. But you're gonna mess with other colors, so only change it a little bit until that blue color gets mitigated enough to where you think it's fine. If you dial it up more than +10 or -10, you're definitely changing a lot of colors. If you're just changing it up to 10 or -10, it's fine. You're not really changing other colors yet. But if you're changing it beyond the -10 or +10, then you're gonna see a big difference. So yeah, leave any comments in the description or comment section below and tell me what you think about this configuration. After around 2,000 hours of usage with the TV, I'm absolutely so happy with this TV. I think it's the best TV panel, like honestly the best panel on the market. There aren't any better panels for giving you that vivid pop of contrast. Like this in a dark room with surround sound is very scary and eerie. And this game is of course very scary from the get-go, but this just takes it to the next level, man. Like, I get goosebumps, and I watch horror movies all the time with friends. And no, we don't get scared for watching horror movies anymore. Like, it's more for 16-year-olds, I feel, when you get scared for a horror movie. But playing this at night alone, and you open up the window, you hear the wind outside, and you have surround sound on, and you have a all black room. Yeah, this starts to feel really eerie. You feel like somebody's about to touch you from behind constantly. Super scary feeling, super scary vibe. So yeah, that's a gift from me to you, how you can calibrate this game and make it actually look good. And not compared to like how other YouTubers tell you to calibrate HDR. I think normal HDRG calibration compared with this kind of calibration with HDRG is, yeah, this is superior, definitely. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I hope you guys understand that these settings are really only good for this game, but it's a proof of concept that dialing in black and white stabilizer and fine to dark areas can make a game look a ton better and a lot more realistic. So keep that in mind when you go into a game. It might not look as good as it can with your OLED TV. You might need to change some settings. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.